Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brian Davis, and I'm here today to show you how to do a beginner code challenge called FizzBuzz. We'll be using repl, which when you create a repl, you can choose what language you want to work in. Just be sure to choose JavaScript for this particular example, but you can get the gist of this and use this in any language. So just to showcase how repl works is you can sit there and do some JavaScript and run this through, and this will go ahead and give you whatever you type in here for a console log. And then you can go ahead and clear that out, run it again. For this, we're going to want to create a function. We're going to call it FizzBuzz, and it's going to take a parameter of nums. And so for this, we're going to go ahead and do some conditional statements. So we'll do an if, and we'll say, hey, if nums is modular 3, then that should be equal to 0. And if this is true, we're going to want to return fizz. And so we can come down here, we can say console.log, and we'll put in FizzBuzz, and we'll pass it in a 3. Not sure what is going on here. Not sure why it's expecting TypeScript here for me, but we'll just go with that. So we get fizz, but if we put in another number, let's say 20, it'll give us undefined, which is something we'll have to fix. But let's go ahead and say else if, and so if nums is a modular of 5, this should also be equal to 0. And what we're going to want to do here is return buzz. And we'll go ahead and type in 5 just to make sure it still works. And we got buzz. All right. And if we type in here, and we're going to say else if, and we'll say if this is nums is modular 3 is equal to 0, or, sorry, not or, and nums is modular 5 is equal to 0. If both these return true, we will actually want to return fizz buzz. So we'll run this, and we still need a buzz. Maybe the stuff's not loading. Let's go ahead and verify. And we get fizz. That's weird. So the reason this happens is because it's hitting the first if statement. And if this returned false, it's going to run this instead. If both these return false, then this is also automatically going to return false. So what we're going to do is actually move this up, and we're actually going to make this the beginning if statement and make this the else if statement. And so when we run this, we still get fizz, and when we get 5, we're still going to get buzz. But if we pass in 15, we're going to get fizz buzz. So that's one way to do it. And then we'll have an else. And what we're going to have on this else is we're just going to return nums. So if this isn't at all by anything, this should just return, let's find some numbers here until we get to, there we go. So 202. That is not, cannot be divided by 5, cannot be divided by 3 at any point in time. So basically a modular, just to kind of explain that, is basically the 3 is going to be divided into this as many times as it can until it can't anymore. And then this is what it returns is a value, basically a remainder. So if it's absolutely 0, that means there's nothing left over. If this is a good way to check even and odds as well. So it should return 0 or should return 1. So that's how you handle that. And if we wanted to change this and say, hey, let's go ahead and do this, but let's do this with an array, right? And instead of nums, let's go ahead and change this to an array. And let's change this to array. And if we want to sit there and pass in an array, we're not going to want to do it this way anymore. So what we're going to want to do is do a for loop. We're going to say let I is equal to 0. I is less than array.length. And then we'll say I plus plus. What we're going to want to do is move this down here. And instead of nums, what we're going to want to do is do array at I. And so we can take this and paste that here. But instead of, we can actually get rid of this else statement because we don't need it. And what we're going to want to actually do after this is return the array. Now, it depends on how you want to do this, if you want to modify this in place or not. But if this is true, we're not actually going to do this here. We're going to say that array at I is now equal to that, right? And then we're going to do the same thing down here. Array at I is equal to FizzBuzz. Array at I is equal to buzz. So this is so you're modifying the array in place. If you don't want to do this, you could just make a new array, const, output array, and give it an array. And then instead here, you could just do a output array dot push. And do it that way. Or if you want to go back, you could do output array, and then you could do output array, and instead of doing it this way, you could do output array dot length -1. And then this is the same thing as pushing to the last, the end of the array. But we're going to stick with array at I for now. All right, so now we can sit there and comment that out, and we will console.log our FizzBuzz array, and we're going to want to throw something in here. So let's just do, let's do 3, 5, 15, 200, 202. And let's see what we get. And there you go, exactly as we anticipated. So this is just changing our positions. So if it is that, swapping it to fizz, because it is a modular of 3, but it's not a modular of 5 as well. This is modular 5, this is modular 3 and 5, so it's FizzBuzz, and this is modular of 5, so we get buzz, and then 202 is not, modular of 3 or 5, so we get the actual number back out. I think that's all I have for this. You could do some edge cases here if you wanted to verify this. What if we have array dot length if there's nothing in here, right? And here you could just do a return, and then we'll just return the array. And so now if we pass in an array, let's copy that, comment that out, and we don't pass in anything. And we can run that. And so what we get back is the array. Hopefully that made sense. And let's actually share this here. It's been a while since I've done this. This up here should be good enough. So I'll go ahead and leave this REPL in the description of this video. If you have any questions, send me a message on LinkedIn or YouTube or Slack.